You wake up one morning feeling wrong, not dramatically wrong, just off, muscles aching, head heavy, a low fever. You think, flu season? You think, I'll sleep it off. 48 hours later, you cannot breathe. 72 hours later, you may be dead. The virus responsible has no vaccine, no antiviral drug, no specific cure. Once it reaches your lungs, medicine can only watch and support and hope. The case fatality rate for those who develop severe disease sits between 30 and 40%, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Roughly 1 in 3 people who cross that threshold does not come back. The name of this virus is Hantavirus. And right now, in May of 2026, it is making headlines around the world for the first time in a generation. Not because it is new, but because something deeply alarming about it has just been confirmed in front of the entire world. This channel exists to give you information that actually matters, the kind that could save your life or the life of someone you love. If that is why you are here, make sure you are subscribed so you never miss what comes next. Hantavirus is not a new discovery. It has been killing people quietly for decades, but most people have never heard of it, and that ignorance can be fatal. What the science shows today, Hantavirus is not one virus. It is a family of more than 50 viral strains, carried primarily by rodents, found on every inhabited continent. In the Americas, the circulating strains are among the most lethal on the planet. The common belief is that this is a rural disease, a farmer's disease. If you live in a city, travel comfortably, and consider yourself removed from rodents and their droppings, you believe you are safe. That belief is wrong, and the events unfolding right now prove it. This content is educational and does not replace medical consultation. If you have any concern about your health, speak with your doctor. The virus enters the body silently. It moves through the bloodstream and incubates for 1 to 8 weeks without producing a single obvious symptom. The infected person feels completely normal, goes to work, travels, boards a plane, and all that time, the virus is replicating, preparing for what comes next. According to the Mayo Clinic, Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome advances through 2 distinct stages. The first looks exactly like the flu: fever, deep muscle pain in the thighs, hips, and back, fatigue, headache, sometimes nausea and vomiting. Nothing about this stage screams emergency. Nothing sends most people to the hospital. That is precisely what makes it so dangerous. Then, between 4 and 10 days after first symptoms appear, the second stage begins. Fast. The lungs start filling with fluid. Pulmonary edema, liquid flooding the air sacs that carry oxygen into the blood, can develop within hours. The heart begins to fail. Blood pressure drops. The body goes into shock. According to the CDC, without adequate treatment, most deaths in hantavirus pulmonary syndrome occur within 24 to 48 hours after this cardiopulmonary phase begins. 24 to 48 hours. Not days, not weeks, hours. There is a detail about hantavirus that most people do not know, and that the current global outbreak has placed at the center of every conversation among infectious disease specialists. Not all hantavirus strains behave the same way. Most of them, including the sin nombre virus most common in the United States, do not spread from person to person. You can only get them from direct contact with rodents or their contaminated waste. But there is one strain that is different. Its name is the Andes virus. Found in South America, predominantly in Argentina and Chile, it is the only known hantavirus in the world documented to spread from one human being to another. Every other hantavirus on Earth requires rodent exposure. The Andes virus does not. Researchers have documented transmission through close and sustained contact, respiratory droplets, prolonged proximity with an infected person. It is not casual. It is not airborne like COVID-19. But it happens. A 2011 outbreak in southern Chile infected hospital workers who had cared for a single patient. A 2018 outbreak in the Argentine village of Epuyén infected 34 people and killed 11, person to person. No rodent required. This is the strain now at the center of a live, active, international outbreak. Now, the story you need to know. On the 1st of April, 2026, a Dutch expedition cruise ship called the MV Hondius departed from Ushuaia in southern Argentina, carrying 147 passengers and crew. Before boarding, a Dutch couple had taken a birdwatching trip through Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. Somewhere in those wild landscapes, they encountered the Andes virus. On the 11th of April, the man died on board. His death was attributed to respiratory illness. Hantavirus was not suspected. No samples were taken. When the ship docked at St. Helena, his wife disembarked. She was already ill. She died 2 days later in Johannesburg, South Africa. Her blood tested positive for the Andes strain. By then, the virus had already been circulating on the ship for weeks. Additional cases emerged. Passengers began isolating in their cabins. The World Health Organization was formally notified on the 2nd of May. The European Center for Disease Prevention and Control issued an emergency threat assessment. As of the 9th of May, 2026, today, the ship is heading to Tenerife. Passengers have been hospitalized in South Africa, the Netherlands, Germany, St. Helena, Spain, and Switzerland. 6 American states are actively monitoring for the pathogen. This is not a historical case study. This is happening right now. The WHO's Maria van Kerkhove stated clearly on the 7th of May, "This is not the next COVID. The risk to the general public remains low. The Andes strain does not spread with the efficiency of COVID-19. But virologists are now asking, what happens if it mutates? What happens as climate change drives rodent populations into new proximity to human communities? What happens when the research programs designed to monitor exactly these viruses have been shut down?" In 2025, the Centers for Research in Emerging Infectious Diseases Network was defunded. The program studying hantavirus transmission from rodents to humans was eliminated. Months later, an outbreak of the exact virus that program was designed to monitor killed people and triggered an international response. The scientific community has not missed that connection. Now, the warning signs you must never ignore. The WHO and the CDC are aligned on this. Hantavirus moves in a pattern that gives you a window, but only if you recognize it. The first warning sign is sudden fever combined with deep muscle pain, especially in the thighs and back, appearing within 1 to 8 weeks after potential rodent exposure. This is the prodromal phase, and it is your only early warning. The second warning sign is shortness of breath that appears or worsens rapidly, not from exertion, but at rest, getting worse hour by hour. This is the transition into the cardiopulmonary phase, and it is a medical emergency. The third warning sign is a rapid drop in blood pressure combined with confusion or extreme weakness. This is cardiovascular collapse. At this stage, without immediate intensive care, survival rates drop dramatically. The fourth warning sign applies to anyone who has been in areas where Andes virus circulates, southern Argentina, Chile, Patagonia, and who develops any respiratory symptoms in the weeks following return. Symptoms can appear up to 39 days after exposure. Do not dismiss respiratory illness after travel to these regions. If you or anyone you know develops these symptoms after possible exposure, go to an emergency room. Tell them exactly where you have been. Ask them directly to consider hantavirus infection. Use those words. Doctors cannot test for what they do not suspect. Now, what you can actually do, starting today. Hantavirus cannot be prevented with a vaccine or cured with a pill, but it can be avoided. And knowledge is your most powerful protection. If you are traveling to rural areas, camping, hiking, or visiting regions in the Americas where hantaviruses are common, particularly the American Southwest, Argentina, Chile, and Patagonia, take this seriously. First, never sweep or vacuum in enclosed spaces where rodents may have been. Dry sweeping aerosolizes viral particles directly into the air you breathe. Wet the area thoroughly with a bleach solution before cleaning. 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Wear gloves. Wear a properly fitted respirator mask, rated N95 or higher. Second, before entering a cabin, shed, or any enclosed space closed for a season, ventilate it first. Open windows and doors. Let fresh air move through for at least 30 minutes before you enter. Third, store food in rodent-proof containers off the ground. Do not leave food waste accessible. Rodent-proofing your immediate environment is your first line of defense. Fourth, if you have been in South America, particularly Argentina or Chile, and develop respiratory symptoms in the 4 to 6 weeks after returning, tell your doctor where you traveled. Name the countries and regions. Do not assume they will ask. Most patients never connect their symptoms to travel. Doctors cannot test for what they do not suspect. Fifth, if you are caring for someone suspected of having the Andes strain, treat it like any serious respiratory pathogen. Mask, distance, limited close contact. Caregivers and hospital workers have been infected before. The risk is documented. Calibrate your expectations honestly. Hantavirus is rare. Most people will never be exposed. But rare does not mean impossible, especially when the mortality rate for severe cases runs between 30 and 40%. There is no specific treatment, and the window between feeling like you have the flu and being on mechanical ventilation can be as short as 48 hours. The goal is not fear. The goal is clarity. Think about the last time you cleaned out a garage, swept a cabin, or traveled to South America without a second thought about what the wildlife there might carry. Maybe nothing happened, but you did not know what you know now. The world has changed in the last few weeks. Not because hantavirus is new, but because for the first time, it arrived somewhere visible, tracked by the WHO in real time, and the world could not look away. The question scientists are now asking is not whether hantavirus poses a global pandemic risk today. Right now, the answer is no. The question is whether defunded research programs, expanding rodent habitats driven by climate change, and a long incubation window that allows infected travelers to cross continents undetected are creating conditions where that answer changes. That conversation is worth having, and this channel will keep having it. If this video gave you information you did not have before, leave a comment below. Had you ever heard of hantavirus before today? Your answer matters. It tells us whether this kind of information is actually reaching the people who need it. If the answer is no, think about the people around you who also have not heard of it. Your father, who camps every summer. Your mother, who visited South America last year. Share this video with them. Not tomorrow, now. One share takes 3 seconds. What it could prevent is immeasurable. Like this video and subscribe if you believe that clear, factual, life-protecting information should reach everyone. This channel exists because these conversations matter. Your support keeps them going. Take care of your body. It is the only one you have.